Ah, all right. Let's see if we are up and running. Hopefully, yes. That's a we're live, live, live. All right, all right. Welcome to Eight Questions with. I'm your host Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View. Tonight we are bringing you another first to the show. Hi, Phyllis. How are you? Welcome aboard. This would be a lot. This would be a really nice show tonight. Really calm, not crazy. Tonight we're bringing another first to Eight Questions with. We are bringing our very first expert on film festivals. Film festivals are held around the world, and they help showcase new talent and they help indie filmmakers get their product out to us, the consumer, the viewer. Um, and it also develops the shows their show. It's basically a showcase for their talent. There's different categories, newcomers, genres are covered. Um, Film festivals can just do anything for anybody. It really helps, like I said, it really helps the indie filmmaker more than anything else. Some of the more world famous film festivals that are in the going now are South by Southwest, um, which is sort of interesting because South by Southwest got its reputation as a music festival, but over the years it has evolved to where their film festival has become really important. We also have CineQuest based out of San Jose. We have the Toronto Film Festival, which is probably the most important. It all depends on who you talk to, but I'm thinking that it is. You got Cannes, which is the most famous. It's the most famous of all film festivals. But Toronto seems to be setting the pace for what we see and actually who can actually win the award season. I was actually amazed when I saw that they had picked Renee Zellweger to win an Oscar for playing Judy Garland, and they picked that way back in March, I think, March or April. And I was really amazed because I was like, that's a lot of time in between that and the Oscars, but they were right. Our guest tonight is Eric Vollweiler, and he organizes and runs festivals across the country. He also does a lot of other different types of shows that we'll be talking to him about. He's a very cool chap. I really liked him. We talked before the show, and he seems to really know what he's talking about. I can't wait to pick his brain. Um, yeah, let's see. Well, while I'm here, what's coming up, and all the regular people here, even the ones on replay, will know what I'm bringing up. I'm bringing up October. Bring up the calendar. So the good news is I actually finished booking November already. So our list for November is done. Um, I'm pretty happy about that. Chadwick, you know what? I'm glad you're here for this one. This is a show you probably want to watch for sure. I'm not sure how long you can stay tonight. I know you work and whatnot, but definitely watch the replay of this. As a filmmaker, this might be pretty important to you. All right. So I can't believe we're already in the second month of October. Um, it's crazy. Um, and so let's tell you what we got going on for the rest of this week. We are a little heavy this week as we are inviting Eric to come in today. And then tomorrow we have filmmaker, screenwriter Thomas J. Churchill. Um, just a fantastic guy. Really wanted to meet him very much and to do an interview. And we finally got him to sit down with us, which is pretty amazing because the man's always on the go. If he follows his Instagram or his Facebook page, you'll know right away that Thomas Churchill is not a man of inaction. He is hustling and bustling and making art. I met Thomas or through his work through a review that me and Paladin did last year. We did the Amityville Harvest. And through that, we got an interview with one of the co-stars of that film, Joanna Ray. And then our very first guest on the Midnight Hour, as far as our celebrity guest goes, was none other than hold on one second. Someone's asking me about a test run. So we met our very first celebrity guest we had on the Midnight Hour was actress Sadie Katz, who also did the Amityville Harvest. And so Thomas is planning 6 films in this. Our guest is here. Let me go get him. Ta-da! Welcome aboard.
Hey, how are you? Sorry, I'm early.
It's all right. I always go up a little early beforehand, so you're here, so that's cool. We got a couple of people in the chat, and you found your way here.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just telling about we live and die by our calendars, right? I mean that's our bread and butter. I mean our calendars are life.
Yes.
And so I'm just telling folks what we got going on the rest of the night, rest of the week. We have film director Thomas J. Churchill tomorrow, and then on the 14th we have 2 shows. Hey Stephen, how are you? I'm doing 2 shows on Thursday. Doing actress Karen Cleach from at 2:00. She starred in Mutant X, Adventures Inc., The Young Blades, and Flash Gordon, as well as Saw 6 and a bunch of fun Lifetime movies. She's now getting back in the game. She took a little bit of time off to raise a family, and now she's back and running. So we'll be talking to her at 2:00 on Thursday, see what she's been up to, what brought her back. And then we're talking to veteran character actor Michael Baker at 8:00. And we'll be talking to him about his career and what's it like maneuvering in today's world as far as an actor goes, because it's a lot different from it used to be. So how you been? How was your day, Eric?
It was good. It was very productive. Just working on different events and festivals, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Get to talk to interesting people, and that's the best part about the work is the rapport and the relationships that you build.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, networking is everything, isn't it?
I agree.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question though. Like, how much after you get off work, how much after you get off work and you go home, how many times have you actually unplugged the phone?
I actually don't unplug my phone. I actually leave it on 24 hours a day. My rule is you can call me 24 hours a day. That's how I live my life, because you never know when somebody will need you. So I'm sort of like, that's how I roll. And I feel like that's just, I've always kind of been like that because, I want to be there for the people I care about.
I get that. I mean, I was in that too, but there was times where it was like, or better yet, have you ever been out with friends or family or whatnot, and someone will see you and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, that's the guy. That's Eric. That's the guy who's running the festival. Go ahead and let me go over there and talk to him." And then they come over and hey, you got a minute? And you're eating there. You got a meal. You might have a date. You might be married. You might be with your family. And then people come up to you and they want to talk business. I mean, that's gonna be a little off-putting.
Well, in the past, I did get in trouble for answering a phone call on a date. So I've learned that area does not work. Always turn off your phone when you're going out with a woman. I think that's just respectful, and I don't think I would want the woman to answer the phone either. You know, I think it's kind of not kosher, as you say, but so it's if that scenario. But again, when it comes to work, especially in the event world, which I live my life in, is that you never know when, you know, it could be 10 hours, it could be midnight, and something's still, there's a deadline that has to be done. So if you have to wake up and make sure that email gets out, or, you know, you have to end up going to Kinko's or FedEx or whatever the scenario is to make copies to bring it to that location at 6 or 7 a.m., you have to do that. There's no, you know, ifs or buts. So that's why, you know, that scenario.
Yeah, that's gotta be yeah, those are no fun. Those, I don't, you know what, of all the things I don't miss about doing live music, that's probably that right there. You know, getting there and getting a call going, hey, by the way, you know, stop by Kinko's or stop by whatever and pick something up at 5:30 in the morning. That I don't miss. But yes, but you're right. It's essential that you can do it, and you do it. I mean, you have to do it in order to make your event run smoothly.
Right. And I think overall, no matter if it's a play, a music concert, a festival, you know, a film festival, a gala, a trade show, like the overall is to see it take place. And, you know, all that stuff, you know, they always say crunch time is like the last 2 or 3 weeks before. And it's sort of like, you know, once you experience it and you see all the attendees and you see the sponsor saying, wow, this is great, and we're very happy. And, you know, like, it's the actual process, you know, even though we people that work in the event field, you know, I think it's the overall goal is once the event is over, it's a good feeling because you put everybody as a team, put their work into that one single event and made it happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of personal satisfaction, you know, when you have a sold out show, or when some of your peers come up to you and they sit there and they tell you, you know, wow, Eric, you really knocked out of the box. And where did you find some of these movies at? Or did you see the young, you know, see some of the young directing talent on there? It's just amazing. And yeah, I can definitely see the personal satisfaction of doing that. So yeah, so on 24/7. That's yeah. I like it. I like it, and I liked it. And but wow. But the thing with film festival though is like it's maybe over the long run it's not as long as live music goes, but it's deeper. You know what I'm saying? It's like whereas we have maybe one night, you know, to put everything together, a film festival might have, you know, every year they might have to do 2 weeks, and that's you know, it's hard to explain to people when they go to a big event that as soon as the curtain's down on the show, that you're already thinking about 2022. You're already starting thinking about the next year's program, and the next day you'll get up and you'll grab a calendar and you'll put it on your wall or you'll go in there and you start making notes. You start making notes. You have the after meeting. You go over what worked for you, what didn't work, what could have been improved on, or what we do next year, and you start doing that within maybe like the week after the event is over. It never stops.
It doesn't. One thing you learn from film festivals, I mean, again, it usually takes about 6 months to a year to put on. One of the bigger festivals that have been around, I would say 5 to 30 years. It takes time. It definitely does take a lot of time. And, I have a festival starting up October 21st through the 24th, which we started in last February. And it's exciting. It's the Lake Placid Film Festival. It's our 20th anniversary. And, to come to finally get the point where like, wow, this whole team of people put on this great event. And, it's a live event too, even during the scenario with COVID, but, we have to be vaccinated, of course, and wear masks in the theater. But it's exciting to be at that level.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I want to do now, since we got a couple of people here, that's great. Thank you for showing up. Our friend Steven is here. Chadwick, I don't know if you can see our chat or not. but Chadwick is a filmmaker himself. Steven has a podcast, so he does interviews as well. So I'm sure I'll be passing on your information on to him after the show is over with. And we have Phyllis Brown who's here, and she is a new supporter of the show, and glad to have her here. And our guest is Eric Vollweiler, and so I just want to go back to the circle back, and get this interview started correctly. And that is, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing. I mean, where were you born at? You have brothers and sisters, cat and dog?
So I was born in Easton, Pennsylvania, which is a lovely part of Pennsylvania and the home of Crayola Crowns and Lafayette College. An incredible boxer, Larry Holmes. If you remember, he was actually at one point with the heavyweight champion of the world. Great, incredible boxer. And from there, I moved to Overland Park, Kansas City. My father, who was in sales, you know, we actually went from Pennsylvania to Kansas City, and then I ended up in New York, right around Schenectady and Saratoga Springs area, which is called the Capital District. I do have a younger brother who's a English teacher. He's based in Rochester. He's married, and I have a 7-year-old nephew by the name of Ari, who I love. Dennis the Menace. He looks like Dennis the Menace, acts like Dennis the Menace, and he's intelligent too. So he has all three things.
That's yeah. Now because has your career kept you from I mean, you're basically married to your career, right?
I don't know if I'm married. I love what I do. You know, I mean, you know, being at my old age of 87 presently, no, I'm joking. I'm actually only 45, but I always say the 87-year-old thing. But, you know, I'm sort of looking, I've actually experienced a lot of incredible things throughout the years, you know, and I'm looking to settle down and be a family man. And that's sort of where I'm at in my life. But regardless of what I love, you know, I've been working in the arts and entertainment industry since I graduated, which was in 1995. And since then to present day, I've been involved with it.
Now, were you always a fan of film growing up? And
yes.
So, what were some of the TV shows and actors that you enjoyed growing up?
That's a good, you know, I think I remember going to Top Gun with my father, who's actually watching right now, probably. E.T., one of my favorites of all times. The movie Goonies. I mean, there are so many great movies as a kid. You know, I was into cartoons like Transformers, the Gummy Bears, Smurfs. I mean, I was kind of all around, you know, like I remember my first Broadway show I got to see was Cats. And that was when I moved from Kansas City to upstate New York. And that was incredible. And, you know, so I always thought, well, how did you get really involved? It was, I think my dad has always been into the arts and has been a big, very passionate about film, theater, opera. And he's, you know, he kind of drags my mom into it too, but she loves it as well. So, I mean, I have to thank my dad.
So you grew up in a really artistic household then?
I mean, more of loving the, you know, being able to share that with family. Yes, my family actually, you know, they, it was something that I learned from my dad and mom. Yes.
Let's see. Gummy bears. What I'm saying. Oh, Mr. Bones is here. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Bones. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I can imagine how exciting it was because, I mean, Top Gun, I think came out in 84. I think it came out, right? 84, 80, 85, maybe. I remember the 80s. The 80s were a fun time to be a film lover. And, you know, and did your parents encourage you to read as well? You know, to develop your, you know,
You know, I mean, I think that was mostly through school and education. I did most of my reading. I'm not in general. I'm not a big reader in general. I mean, I think books are fascinating and they're great. And I think I feel I've always been better watching visual aspect of a movie or a documentary to learn, or nowadays, learning on YouTube instead of reading. That's just how I am.
Yeah, I always felt like reading helped expand your mind. Definitely expand your mind. Make you more open-minded to anything that you come in contact with. Because you don't know anything, you don't read anything or don't watch anything, but mostly read anything. There's some people. My wife was like that. She would just read what really interested her, and so that's what she did. She just read what was. But she sure knew what when those subjects came up, she was laser being right onto them. I just grew up because I grew up and I read everything because that's how I was. But I learned how to appreciate art. I can see how you through your parents, because they took you air places. How old were you when you went and saw Cats?
That was when I first moved to upstate New York at a theater, which I actually did an internship at years later. I think that was like early 90s or like the late 80s.
Now,
it was the traveling tour of Cats.
Okay. Now, had you ever been to a play before? Have you ever worked in a play, or you ever acted in a play?
When I was in Kansas City, I was at an acting camp back when I was between, I would say, 7 and 10. And that, so I started acting camp in Kansas City. And then when I moved to upstate New York, I was with the New York State Theater Institute, which was actually a equity theater program that did have programs for high school and college kids to work with equity theater.
I just think that's cool. I think it's really cool. I think it's cool your parents and encourage that with you, encourage your creativity, because of that you were open to for your career. Is it safe to say your father pretty much led you down the path to it?
I think he was the introduction to it, child, but I think my more exploration and more wanting to go further was after, being these different learning experiences that I had through internships. My last year of high school, again, was through the New York State Theater Institute. So my whole year was learning lighting, sound, costumes, working with teaching the children, like young kids, everything from scenes to scene study to improv. That was my senior year, was actually that internship. And then after I graduated, what kind of changed my whole, I did do acting, and actually I did modeling. I did runway and print modeling when I was younger. But, when I started community college, and this is kind of funny, I started community college, I stopped community college, I moved to New York City. Then when I moved to New York City, my goal was to become an actor and focus on acting and modeling. Well, that didn't happen as much, but I learned what the New York club scenes, how the clubs were ran from the actual, some of the top New York promoters at that time, back in '96. And what I learned from the club scenes, I actually took to when I went back to college, I started selling out theater at college because of the clubs.
What do you mean? You started selling out? You mean you put on your own events?
I learned market. I learned how to market, and I basically learned public relations from the nightclubs in Manhattan.
That's quite honestly, that's probably one of the best teaching classrooms you can get. New York nightlife is legendary.
This is still, these are the days where everybody, it was just one of the 90s were the best times in New York City. They really were. 95, 96, 97. It was a different world, in the 90s, for sure. I'm part of the X generation, as you know. But
So when did you decide to, how did you get involved in the event business? I mean, in the film festival business.
I think it was like from the club experience, and then I did a lot of internships, and my first internship was at the same Broadway traveling tour house in upstate New York in Schenectady called Proctor's Theater. My internship was in public relations, and it was really cool. I got to work with the Beach Boys, Hal Holbrook. He did Mark Twain. He actually did the Mark Twain show, focused on Mark Twain. And I worked on Chicago, the traveling tour of Chicago. So, that was one of my first internships. And then my second internship doing marketing and PR was in Upper Montclair, New Jersey, at MSU, Montclair State University. And I worked with Betty Buckley and Melba Moore.
What was it like working with them?
They're amazing, talented women who, are very passionate about art, and they're just I can't explain it. I mean, it's kind of funny how I saw Cats as a kid, and then I got to work with the woman who won a Tony for Cats, years later.
Right. Yeah, Betty Buckley is Cats. As far as I'm one of those. Every time I think of Cats, that's the first thing I think of. I think Betty Buckley is amazing myself.
She is. She really is. And so is Melba Moore. I mean, Melba is just, brilliant. She just did recently, I guess her last show before COVID was she did a show about Billie Holiday, which if my parents are watching, they got to see her in Florida do it. So it was really exciting for them.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the live events, I mean, interning there. I mean, that was a really good education. I mean, you got to learn the demand. You got to learn how to. I mean, what are some of the most important things you think you learned from being an intern your first year? Because I always thought the first year was the most important. So what good habits did you pick up from your first year?
I mean, I think overall, I didn't go into the casting process next, but I learned that, when you intern, your goal is to work as a team, and, you sort of learn every aspect, sort of like a production assistant on a motion picture or an independent film. You start sort of like at that point where you see everything that takes place in a movie, right? You see craft, lighting, sound, grip, directors, cinematography. Like you're like the overall eye of everything that's going on, even though you're at the low point of your career. And I also think that it's just the communication between everybody that's working, is actually working in theater or in film, learning and listening to how things are taking place, and just that it's like real life experience, what's really happening and what's going on. It's taxing. It's not printing. It's not getting coffee. That's just part of the, I guess, job per se, but it's really like the communication between all the different parts of the putting on a show or making a movie. Like, it's getting to know every department, and it's being able to learn on that live experience, that aspect.
Yeah, I can see how that, working those internships, I can see how. I mean, I know that, you start there and you start slowing you start building your way up, you start going up every year, every time, basically every year or every internship or every job. You take your past experience and you apply it to the new job. I mean, did you learn pretty fast, Eric? I mean, you sound really self-confident. That's why I'm asking these questions. I mean, you sounds like you were just razor sharp and you knew exactly what to do. I mean, you think that was instinct, or was that just a result of a lot of hard work?
I think it's actually both, because I loved being involved with theater, and then my next journey was in casting, and I got to work on some incredible motion pictures as working with extras casting. And then my final internship was at a movie studio, and that was like the overall goal, right? A movie studio in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and to see how the studio works. So, you know, from extras in working in upstate New York to extras working in Boston to a movie studio in Hollywood. Like, so I kind of experienced all that aspect as well. And, you know, theater and film and television kind of relate. It's sort of all the same kind of process in a way. Live events, of course, are a little different. And I mean, that relates more to the actual theater and plays. But yeah, I mean, out of the 10 to 12 or 13 internships I did, you know, it wasn't about making money. It was more about, it was all about learning for me. And I think from those experiences and interacting with some incredible people, and we're not just talking about the, you know, celebrities, but just everybody that works, that's everybody that's involved. You know, I think that's one of the best things that I've learned is that, you know, being open-minded and, you know, being somebody who like wants to help and teach others and the, you know, the next generation. And I think that's where I've actually ended up now in my career. You know, film festivals is after the film festivals and events came after casting, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I know a lot of people might look at you did 13 internships, but I can understand why you did it. You had to, you know, there are some jobs where that it takes time to learn your craft, you know, to really understand it. And right. I mean, you don't fill out a job application for a film festival organizer or live event organizer and just have, you know, a year of experience, you know, and then expect someone to give you the keys to the car. That just doesn't happen. You got to have a lot of experience and a lot of skills to do that, and confidence. I mean, I had a friend of mine named Pam. She worked at Cinequest, and she was also a PR for a art house theater. And I used to sit there and watch her work, and was really amazed at how hard she had to really, you know, how hard it was. It's not easy. And right. I always respected that. So what was your, what studio did you work for in Los Angeles, and how did you get that? How did you get that internship?
Well,
were you sponsored?
No, I actually was chosen, I guess, out of a couple thousand students to be picked for that internship. But I founded a casting organization at Emerson College in Boston, and our college is actually in LA too. We're actually bi-coastal. And I actually had over 2,500 headshots throughout New England and even New York City. They all sent, you know, their headshots to me, and now I'm actually casting Harvard, Boston universities, and all Emerson's film and television work. You know, in my dorm room, people are coming up. We want to use your books. I had these books filled with headshots. I was looking to do different internships. Because Emerson provided the Hollywood program, and that was one of the best, you know, that was sort of the reason I ended up wanting to go to Emerson, was being able to go to LA. And so some of the other internships besides DreamWorks, you know, I was trying to think what I really wanted to do. So I applied at talent agencies. At one point, I even think I applied at a great management company called Brillstein and Gray, actually, was one of the bigger management companies in Hollywood. And then so with DreamWorks, yeah, I mean, I guess I never knew how many, but I know I was chosen from a lot, and I think it all had to do with Emerson casting. What I founded at Emerson, the college actually funded it and became an organization because of the success of it. So DreamWorks found out, you know, when I emailed DreamWorks and said, this is what I founded, that's how I got in.
Yes, it's was that in the 90s or early 2000s?
I was at Emerson in Boston from 2000 to 2001, and then I moved to LA in 2001.
Sort of, it's interesting now, huh? The game has changed so much, isn't it? I've talked to many directors and producers on the show already, and the one thing that's constant is, you know, the one constant thing I heard is all those casting days, and your head shot in and come in and audition. Those days are slowly fading by, aren't they?
Yeah, now everything's
it's evolving.
It's all online. It's so much easier just to send an email with a headshot and your actor's reel.
I think it's really tough for an actor though, because we talked to one actor we interviewed, and he most actually, the majority of the actors still want to do live auditions. They'll do a self tape, but they rather do the face to face because they want that human contact. They want to be able to walk up to the casting director's eyes and look at him and say, "Here I am. Here's my audition." And with I think by doing it by sending email headshots and self tapes, I think casting directors sort of get an easy out of it. Now they just blow by anybody. There's no. It's just changed a little bit. It would be harder now to be, and maybe it's harder now to be a casting director.
I would disagree. I think it's actually easier now because of what they've had to deal with. I mean, COVID, but I think it's so much easier to be an actor in Los Angeles and to send a headshot and reel to New York and audition, or to do like a Zoom audition. It's so much easier and less expensive. There is that
part. Yeah, there is that part. I mean, there is the part about going in there and driving halfway across LA, and that's a day in itself. And
correct.
Then I can see both sides of the coin. I just hope, as far as us as viewers, as movie buffs, I just hope that the casting directors are, diligent, to try to cast the real good talent, not because you get inundated with 1,000 people, you just blow them off. You want them to take that time and look at the picture and watch the tape, even if it is only 30 seconds. So casting though. So what did you like best about casting? I mean, what was the draw there? I mean, did you ever sit in on live auditions?
Oh yeah, definitely. My first internship was before I even moved to Boston. Before I moved and went to Emerson, there was a woman in upstate New York, Diana Powers at the time. She worked with a acting coach in New York City by the name of Bob Luke, and Bob Luke actually would get her work. Like I was kind of her assistant intern too, and we did Law and Order in New York City. So we'd bring kids down to New York City for Law and Order. Jim Henson Productions, and we did the movie The Horse Whisperer in Saratoga Springs, where I was from. She did all the kid extras for that.
Oh, okay.
And so then when I went to Boston, while I was at Emerson, before I founded Emerson Casting, my first casting internship was with Angela Perry, who is known, her company is Boston Casting. So with Angela, I got to experience commercials, music videos, voiceovers, industrials, and motion pictures. And then now it's actually Angela Perry and Lisa. Okay, her partner is Lisa. I'm thinking of Lisa at Boston Casting. I'm going by the email, but I know her name. They're both incredible women, and I highly recommend Boston Casting. If you're from New England, they have some of the best classes. But after my internship with them, I worked with a gentleman by the name of Kevin Fennessy, who's an actor. And at the time, we worked on this great movie called What's the Worst That Could Happen with Danny DeVito, Martin Lawrence, John Leguizamo, and Bernie Mac was in it as well. And so we had our open casting call at the Prudential Center in Boston. We had over 3,000 extras. So my job was saying hi to all 3,000 people and taking Polaroids.
Okay.
And then
that's actually pretty exciting.
No, it is. So you asked me what I love. I love casting. What I've learned from casting is diversity, right? Everybody is a different role, right? We're all human. So diversity was what I learned from casting. I learned that, there's different roles. Always there's going to be different roles, no matter if it's a feature or a supporting role or a day player or stand-in or extras. Like it's just the process of casting is really cool, because once you get the script, you have to make the script come alive by the actors, no matter if it's the lead or the A or B list actors, or all the way down to the extras, and being able to then you got to figure out costumes. So it's all connected, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, the casting job is a beautiful thing. I think after I did my internship at the studio level in casting, and I got to experience the motion picture, and I worked on at the time Spin City with Charlie Sheen was actually I did an internship on that. That was the two. I worked on TV and motion picture and animation were the three things I learned at DreamWorks. And because the studio level, I got to tell you that out of my record, and DreamWorks was one of my favorite studios in Hollywood, and and this is the reason why. And every other studio in Hollywood charges you in the cafeteria. DreamWorks fed every employee and intern in that studio back in the early 2000s. Now we're talking about. When I left, they gave me a goodbye package, like the nice, DreamWorks was a very intimate family. Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen got it down. That's all I'm saying. And I will always thank them, the people I actually interned for.
The reason I'm asking about these questions, I'm leading up to something here, because one thing I've noticed that what you had to have, and I think now I know where you got it at, is because when you do your festivals, right? When you do that, people don't understand that it's not just a simple thing as going up there and grabbing 20 films and throwing it on the screen. Especially when you're talking about original festivals versus retro. Retro, it's a little bit, it's probably more expensive to do a retro festival than it is to do a relatively unknown one, original film.
Right.
But my point is, where I'm going with this is, you developed your eye and you developed an ear. So that's really what that's what I'm, because I'm going to come back to that, because I think it's really important. I want to know what you see. I want to see what you see. So after you finished with DreamWorks, I mean, what was the first film festival you worked at, and why did you go there? Why not hang your hat onto a casting agency? You got the skills. You had the skill set. You probably could have latched on to most anybody.
I guess you're right with that actual resume aspect of interning. But, back in Boston, before I even moved to Hollywood, my first volunteer work at a film festival was actually Nantucket. Nantucket is, of course, in Cape Cod, a beautiful area. So we did a fundraiser in Boston, and I was in charge of all the students. So I organized all the students, volunteers. I was the head of that. That was sort of my first volunteer work on a festival. But after I finished internship at DreamWorks, at the time I was dating a woman who actually was a volunteer at Sundance, and she invited me to volunteer back in 2002. And that was really the teacher educator of what I've been doing for the last over 18 years. Sundance really woke me up to what I love.
Okay. So what is Sundance? Could you tell folks? Could you tell us what Sundance is? Some of us might not know.
Sundance is, I would say, the grandfather of all festivals in the United States. Founded by Robert Redford and some other incredible people, which I don't have all the names right now, but Sundance's focus, and not just Sundance, the festival, but even the Institute, is to help independent filmmakers finish their films, educate, teach filmmakers about the right way of doing things, I guess, and learning about every aspect of, from distribution to screenwriting to focusing on diversity. Sundance definitely does that, which is very important. But on the festival level, what I learned what the audience was at a film festival. I learned the different genres of movies at a film festival. I learned more about networking at a film festival, which is probably one of my greatest lessons. You know, networking is what I love to do. What else did I learn? I learned, you know, what sponsors were, which is what I do. That's really my living, is raising money through sponsorship and advertising. So, I mean, I learned at Sundance, and I think everything, I also learned that it's like, the film festival world, it's like going to a baseball, right? You're wearing a Mets hat. You have that type of, you have people that travel all over the country to watch the Mets. People do this for film festivals. It's like a family. We're all in a family who love movies. And actually, I love movies, but I'm more about the networking. I love the business too. I got to be honest. I'm a business. I love the business aspect of the entertainment industry. But
I love the networking too. The networking is a lot of fun.
It is.
It is.
Oh yeah, definitely. You never know who you're going to meet and what your next role or next job will be. But I guess those are the things. The Sundance taught me about the film festival audience. Sundance taught me networking. Sundance taught me about the genres of films. Sundance taught me that, it was like one big family. And especially as a volunteer, I highly recommend, it doesn't matter how old you are, I would definitely volunteer at Sundance, because it's an incredible lesson. No matter if you want to be a filmmaker or work on a film festival or whatever you see yourself doing, it provides that education to the film industry as a whole.
Now, how was Sundance booked, and how did you find yourself? Did you get a chance to observe the booking aspect of Sundance?
To book are you saying like book a film, or to do what would you mean by that?
You were able to. I mean, I know that they get submissions from around the world. Were you able to? What was the first festival you got to go to where you set in on how they picked the films?
So my background, I've never really worked in that realm, in the real realm of programming, but every film festival has a different way of it, right? Sometimes you'll have a group of people, like a board, that focuses on programming films for that particular festival. No matter if it's documentary, animation, comedy, horror, everybody's going to take on one section, and they're going to watch as many films, and they're always going to pick the best films, and those will be screened. Some festivals have one or two guys that will watch 500 films, 1,000 films, so that's the process really of programming, is watching movies and judging the best work to be screened at the festivals that possibly could get distribution or could win the festival in some way. And so that's not my field.
Okay.
But I know the process. I mean, if you ask me how do you have a film, each festival, of course, you have your general film festivals, and then you have your genre festivals. So, that as
have you programmed an event on your own, either retro or genre?
No, never. I've never. My background is selling sponsorship, advertising, booking entertainment professionals that work within a festival. If you're a filmmaker, you're going to want to know about film distribution, film financing, entertainment law, the casting process, music. You're going to want to know about, music for your film and how that's programmed, screenwriting. What else? So I've worked with celebrities. I've booked them to do appearances at festivals.
So filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers come to your show, and then they ask you questions about the process. That's basically what they can do, right? Somebody comes in there and they have a reel of film, and they say, "What do I do with it now?" And so you help them find the answers to that.
If they ask me, I would direct them to the right genre or to the right festival that I know of.
Okay. So what was the very first film festival that you worked in, as far as You know, like when you actually got your sink your teeth into it as far as being part of the staff?
Back in 2006, I worked on the Silver Lake Film Festival, which was at the hold on, ArcLight Cinemas in Los Angeles, California, and we had over 15,000 attendees at that festival. It was an incredible festival, and this is, you know, while I was that was the first festival I worked on, just focused sponsorship and advertising.
So what does it take to get a sponsorship? I mean, it must be hard to do that. I mean, do you have to make cold calls? I mean, do they give you a list of former sponsors? I mean,
no. I mean, sometimes if they don't want to make the calls, if the festival director doesn't want anything to do with it, they will pass it on. But in general, it's just getting to know the demographics and the market of film lovers and filmmakers, and understanding what's going to have that company or that corporation, that small business, who's going to buy your product, right? Who's going to bring business to you. And it's understanding the marketing of film festival. And that's what I've got over all these years of doing, you know, so.
No, I get it. Yeah. I mean, I could, you know, that has to be done too. So, I mean, that, and I know Silver Lake, that festival's still going on, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not. It actually ended. I don't know what year it ended, but they brought it to downtown Los Angeles, like the downtown LA Film Festival. The same people who ran Silver Lake started a new festival.
Okay. Now go ahead.
Yeah, and there were some other great festivals I worked on back when I was still living out there. The Pan-African Film and Arts Festival, I worked on that. The Now Cat Film Festival we did at the Directors Guild in Los Angeles. What else? I mean, this is years ago, but then, you know, over the years, I've worked on so many in Los Angeles. Seal Beach, San Pedro International Film Festival, Marina Del Rey Film Festival, the Culver City Film Festival.
What do you think? What is the hardest thing for if I'm you know, because basically festivals are basically auditions for the filmmaker to distributing company. Here's my film. You know, I hope you like it, and deals are made, right? I mean, a lot of films get picked up at festivals.
Only at the major festivals more than the medium and small ones. You won't see distribution reps because, you know, you'll find distribution reps at Toronto, Cannes, Sundance, Palm Springs, Durango, South by Southwest. You know, you'll find them at the Berlin market. So they go to some of the longevity. You'll find them more at either the longevity ones or, you know, the ones that bring the celebrities into the films. As, you know, there's difference, of course, than the motion picture. But I'm saying, like, you know, they're going to go to the bigger markets that have been around for many years and that have proven themselves with the movies they screen.
Okay. I thought some of the smaller genres, some of the smaller independents, I thought they got picked up to some, you know, like horror films or whatnot. I thought they got picked up at some of the smaller ones. Like, you know,
there's so many like new websites, you know, now Netflix and Amazon are, of course, you know, the top, and then VOD is another one. So, you know, when it comes to distribution, there are definitely a lot of like online platforms that are going after some of the smaller and media, you know, 1 to 10 year festivals. So like if you want to screen, you know, you start a website and say, I'm going to screen all these films. So they might go that aspect and get those films that way. But like the major distribution companies are going to still go to the main festivals, like I mentioned. So they're not going to go for the smaller ones.
Yeah, I mentioned Toronto before you got here. I mentioned how Toronto was. They seem to really have a thumb on what's gonna pop. I mean, the last like 3 or 4 years, they picked the last 3 or 4, I think, Oscar winners before anybody else did. I'm not sure if they did last year. I don't think they did last year because who knew? Yeah, last year was a really strange year for film due to the pandemic. Now festivals, they pretty much shut her down though, right? As far as in person because of the pandemic. So were you able to do festivals online? Were you able to, did you ship any of your shows online, and how did that affect sponsorship? Were you still able to get sponsors for your, were you still able to get sponsors for your shows?
Right. March of 2020 was when everything changed for all of us, right? It was March. It was right after January, February. Yeah, that's when. So I was at Sundance back in January of 2020. And then once February and March happened, everything changed and everybody was rushing to decide what to do with their film festivals or their own events in general for the event world. And so, yes, most of my work from March of 2020 to present day was all online. So when you asked me about raising money, everything got difficult, harder, and it was a learning experience too, because it was all new for me because I've never got to work online like this before. So, but again, I did the best I could do, and I did raise a good amount of money for different events I worked on.
Now, have you thought about becoming a producer based on your skill set?
Are you talking about for film?
Yeah. Is it basically, you think you could handle financing would you like to try it? Maybe start small and go up. Is that a goal of yours to transition, maybe to try to become a producer? Because you basically basically what you are doing right now. You're doing some of the same thing.
Right. That's what I'm considered a producer / marketing consultant, depending on what project I do. Some festivals consider me a producer, some are marketing. So, it's it works one-on-one. But in the field, I've always been open to the idea of producing a movie. I know how, there's different ways from crowdfunding. Of course, that's one way to, going to investment bankers or other film investment companies, making sure, of course, the script is a great script that it's going to sell too, because you got to focus on the marketing aspect of it. So am I open? I'm open, but I would need to learn more, and I'd want to work with somebody who's somebody that would teach me how to do it better, because it's something that I'm open to, but I've never really done. I've done on an independent, very small level, I've got free hotel rooms for actors, or, I got free catering or whatever, so it does relate to the whole relating to getting sponsors. Product placement is similar to, when you see, you get a hotel or you get a car in a movie, it's kind of similar to events like that way. So yes, I am open to it. And I had a partner or somebody that would help me. I would probably want to try. Yes.
Yeah, I would think that your skills in networking, I'm sure you can probably connect with somebody. And would you like to try to do this on your own? Maybe do a retro festival. I think a retro will probably be. In my opinion, I don't know, obviously, but wouldn't it be easier to do if for a first time organizer? Let's say I want to organize a film festival of Superman movies, and I don't know the first thing about it. But wouldn't it be easier to do a retro festival more than an original one?
That's a good question. I just think I already have enough work as it is to do what I do on a festival that being a festival director is really not my taste. It's not what I would want to do. That's a big job. And my job is pretty big too. I think altogether it's working as a team, and I enjoy working as a team and adding what I do add to a festival. I feel like, I'm happy with what I've been doing since 2006. So,
what are some of the what are some of the movies that you've seen at the festival? What are some of the movies that you watched when you saw them and you knew that have you ever watched a movie and so like, oh, that movie's going to go places? Have you seen a few of those?
Are you there? Okay, there you are. Okay. So it's interesting because a lot of the festivals, sometimes I will watch movies, but I'm more networking outside of the movie theater than I'm in the movie theater, usually at festivals. That's just how I am. I'll be, working. I'll be sitting at the ticket booth checking in filmmakers, or, helping take pictures of actors and the step and repeat. Whatever the case may be, I think, like I said, I love my classic movies. I can list the 90s and the 80s and some of my favorite films, but I haven't been to a movie theater in a long, long time, even before COVID. I actually fell asleep in the movie theater. Actually, that scared me away. I was on a date at the time. It's a true story.
What were you watching there? What was the
I don't
movie?
want to. Well, the director is really a great director, but that film wasn't my niche. That film, and I don't want to name the film because I'm not going to hurt anybody's feelings. But it put me to sleep, and my date never talked to me again. So that's what I learned from that scenario.
Yeah, that happened to me. When I came out to meet my wife, and her and I we went to our first movie together, and our first movie that we went and saw together was Armageddon, and we sat down there and watched Armageddon, and in 20 minutes she slept. She was sleeping. I let her sleep. I slept. She slept pretty much all the way to like the last 15 minutes of it, just in time to see Bruce Willis get blown up.
Oh no.
But no, it was funny as hell. It was always I was to me I was just really amazed because that movie was freaking loud. Michael Bay movie, that guy's just like king of noise. And I don't know what I was more amazed of. I'm sitting there watching Armageddon and I'm looking at her sleeping and I'm like, how do you do that? How could you? I've fallen asleep during a live concert. I fell asleep watching a band called the Dandy Warhols. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting down there. I was so tired because I was working another show, and I literally put my head down. And I was gone. I slept through their entire performance, and they were playing loud. They were loud, and I literally slept through the performance. So I get that. What was the last movie? What filmmakers impressed you today? I mean, what have you seen? What filmmakers have you talked to? At the festivals. What are some of the younger directors that how they carry themselves and how they communicated? What are some of the young directors that really impressed you?
Well, a good friend of mine, Dan Mervish, who founded Slam Dance, that's his family. He's one of the founders. He's done a couple great independent films, and I really look up to him on that and support his filmmaking work.
What are the films that he worked on?
Off the top of my head, he's gonna kill me because right on the spot questions. See, I should have wrote this down before I got on this show. No, Dan Mervish is a great filmmaker. Like, he's also a great film festival founder as well, and he did a couple comedies and his films. You can see if you go look up Dan Mervish on IMDb, you will see his work.
Okay, I'll do that. Even though I could ask you a couple more questions, but you sure you don't know the name of the movie? Just to stretch it out a little longer, so you can get mad.
There's one called Bernard, and oh my gosh, if you want to pause the show, I can come back in a minute.
No, you're good.
I'm joking.
Okay. Now we got that. I mean, how about some of the young performers? I mean, I know you say you don't get to watch a lot of the movies, but the movies that you do watch, that you have, and do you get copies of these movies as one of the organizers? Do you, as marketing, at the end of the show, do you get like, did any of the filmmakers come up to you and give you screeners saying thank you for helping us?
In the past, yes, I've had that happen to me at festivals in the past, but not recently.
Yeah, it's another thing just dying out too, or physical copies. I don't really like screeners. I get contacted all the time to review movies, and I'll ask them, do you have a physical copy? And if they say no, then I just sit there and say, okay. I know I'm small. I know that, I know when I write to them, I sit there and say, if your press list can handle it, if you have an extra one there, I'd like to get one. And I don't care if it's burned. I don't care if you burn it. I don't care. And if you want it back, I'll send it back. But I don't do screeners. I don't like, except for short film. Short films, I'll do that all day long, no problem, because I understand that. But feature length films, yeah, I got to have that in my hand. Yeah. How about you?
I do like watching shorts. Again, features, depending on the genre, I'm pretty open-minded. Definitely a true. I love romantic comedies. I would love romantic comedies. I love drama, adventure. I can do foreign and horror.
Mm-hmm.
I love horror is in and out for me. Like some horror I love, other horror I don't. I'm not into. So, but
yeah, I'm sitting. Most of them, the folks that come in support of the show and whatnot, or the Sunday night show that I do, it's more horror centric, and they always get teased because I sit there and say I'd like a good romantic comedy. I got like 50 Hallmark movies.
But I also love documentaries. I would say they're one of my favorites because I learned the most from them.
Yeah, documentaries are fun. I mean, are they? What's the most popular genre, do you feel, at a festival that you do? I mean, are people there to see mainline entertainment, or are they there to see niche movies like foreign movies or horror? I mean, what do you think draws best?
I would think that is a good question, and you know what? I can't answer that. I'm going to say right now. I mean, horror definitely has a huge market. I would say travel and tours, like movies that are shot in different parts of the world, are pretty popular. Let's see. I would also say that history pieces are pretty popular, and comedy's good.
Would you agree or disagree with that movies are no longer necessarily star driven? I mean, used to be able to open a movie on a star's name. Do you feel like you still can do that in today's world, or is it more of an ensemble that makes the movie go?
I think it's more. I think it has changed nowadays. That it's not as star driven. I think it's more about the story than it is the star.
Do you think streaming will hurt film festivals going forward? The more popular streaming gets, and the way that the pandemic has played out, do you think that'll actually hurt the physical festival, and we'll see more and more of them go being streamed?
I think that's where we're headed, and I think we are going to see more festivals go that route. I for some reason I don't feel like things are going to go back to the total it has been for the last, before COVID. Again, I could be wrong. 5 years from now, 3 years from now, it could be totally different. But I overall do know from speaking to people for people that want to, support festivals and art and entertainment, they much rather face to face. I think everybody in general wants to be more face to face. So there's like sort of there's two ways of looking at it, because online, if you write PR and marketing, you might have more viewers. But again, I feel like there's that face-to-face, that actual contact, the actual networking aspect of face-to-face is more valuable than the online aspect.
If you were to have you ever? I mean, I don't know if it's something you'd like to do either. But if you were going to take over a film promotion, how would you? I mean, like, let's say the new Scream movie came out. It's coming out on the 5th. On Scream 5 is coming out. And if someone asked you to market it, how would you go? How would you market that film?
If the new Scream 5 movie is coming out?
Yeah, I mean, how would you, as you're marketing, you're in the marketing. How would you tell someone like a Kevin Williamson? How would you tell them to market their film? Like or a young filmmaker. I mean, they come up there and because to me it's like, promotion is a lot different now. Promotion, you know, one of the things I see actors tell me.
So my answer would be, right now, where we are in this present day, all marketing, social media is number one, the way of marketing. I don't think it matters what kind of business company or doesn't matter. It's social media and all the different outlets on social media. I think, you know, then I think social media is actually beating out TV advertising. I could be wrong, but I'm just thinking because there's probably more people watching social media than there are watching TV commercials on TV. And I don't know what you think about that. I'm just thinking.
I'm, you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I know that. I think the only reason why we still have network TV is because they're just draining the very life out of the format. But I could see 10 years from now, network TV not even being around. They'll be all streaming. There won't be any. It's
an interesting thought process. I know it is kind of interesting. So right, I would say, yeah, I think everything is social media would be my first way of doing PR and marketing would be through social media.
Yeah, I see that. You're right. I think that I do think that it's definitely social media driven. It's crazy. It's crazy how it works. I mean, I'm here on YouTube, and I look around and I see how, you know, a lot of the companies, man. I mean, between Instagram and Twitch and all the other, you know, all the other social media, they must save millions of dollars on marketing because they don't have to go out there and blister it anymore. I mean, they can go out there, they can plant the seed with a few influencers, a few marketing pros like yourself. I mean, you know, like if I wanted to promote a show, promote a movie in the New York area, you know, let me go and talk to Eric, you know, and then let me say, hey, I want you to get out there and help me promote this film. And knowing that you can get out there and blister it and get people out there to watch it, either streaming or you know, regionally speaking, or you know, through various other marketing programs you might have. I can see that. I see studios cutting their costs for that because you don't have to spend as much. The word of mouth is immense.
I mean, also, like, for me, when I'm thinking of marketing in a festival or an event, I would go after every single filmmaker, screenwriting group in the United States, internationally. There's so many ways. You just have, you know, all the film programs from private to state film programs, colleges. I mean, there's just so many, you know, methods out there that, you know, it's just knowing, like I said, at the end of the day, it's, you know, in the film festival world, you have two markets, actually. You have the filmmaker market, and then you have the film lover market. And it's just understanding that when
you
putting
mentioned
the festival together.
You just mentioned screenwriting. You have you've done some screenwriting competitions, right?
I'm involved with one right now, but you know, that's coming up in January. It is going to be online. We're giving away a $10,000 check to the winning feature film. Correct.
Now, will you be sitting in on that? Will you just be marketing that, or will you be able to market and sit in on the? Will you be able to sit in on the judging of that as well?
Won't be a judge. I'm actually probably going to be at Sundance around that time. So, you know, if I am going to be involved, it'll be watching it on the computer.
Okay. Yeah, that would seem like be a pretty intense competition. How did that is this the first time it's happened? I mean, is this the first time you worked on that festival? Is it the first year event?
It is a first-year event. We had over 74 screenplays, and we're giving away $10,000 to the winning feature, and we're giving away $4,000, $1,000 per short, four short winners.
Yeah, that's a lot of entries. 74 is really impressive. Now, are you responsible for how do you market an event like that, though?
Again, that's with the Hayden Film Institute. They're based out of the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. Hayden has people working for him that do all the social media. A lot of that has been their social media. You know, I've promoted that as well on my social media, but it's Hayden's creation, that event. Hayden Kreidoff is his name, and the Hayden Films Institute.
So how important is social media to you with your job?
You know, I sort of have the straightforward, like, okay, this is what I'm looking for submissions, or here's an event, check it out if you want to attend. You know, each social media platform has, you know, like I've learned on Facebook, there's different rules. You know, you don't want to spam people, so you have to change your wording, and that's what I've learned. You know, I'm not a professional social media person, but I definitely have grown. I feel like I have a pretty good following on the platforms I have.
Yeah, that's you know, even doing something like this, yeah, you got to get out there, you got to market it, and it's different. It's very unique. You know, it depends on word of mouth, you know, name recognition. That you know that there's that as well. You know, it's a different animal, that's for sure. So what do you like doing on your free time?
That's a good question.
What do you do when you have like a weekend and you don't have nothing to do?
You know, I want to do more things. You know, it's been a while, but I do enjoy things like, you know, hiking, but I haven't done that in a while. I do enjoy cafes and drinking coffee. I love Indian food. I think traveling. I want to do more traveling when I'm able to do that, of course. Oh, you're drinking your coffee?
Coffee.
Excellent.
Yeah. You can notice how big the cup is too. That's a throwback to my old my music days.
Very cool.
Drink 3 or 4 of those puppies a day. You get amped up and wired.
I got to cut back on that for sure. I love watching. You know, I'm big into watching music videos on YouTube and listening to some very talented artists out there. You know, when I can, I won't be. My parents are actually heading to Florida for the winter, so I'll have to, you know, talk to them over the phone or by Zoom. But you know, I love seeing them. I love seeing my nephew and my brother and my sister-in-law. But I moved to a new area down in Long Island, New York, and so I'm still getting settled, but it's pretty cool. I'm right outside of New York City. I used to live in Manhattan, so you know, I was just in New York City this past weekend, and I had a great experience and a great time. And you know, so those are some benefits of being in this environment and being closer to definitely some really cool places. So.
Is New York popping right now? Do you feel like it's coming back? And do you think New York will come back? How about and then Broadway? How do you think Broadway will do? You think Broadway will bounce back?
Yes, I think Broadway is going to come back. I think, you know, as long as people, I mean, everybody has the right to do what they want, but you know, I think if people follow the different rules and, you know, to make sure that everybody's healthy, that's the most important thing. And like the event I went to the other night, you had to show your vaccination card and wear a mask. And so I did that. And it's sort of, you kind of respect other people, no matter if they believe in that or not. You want everybody to be healthy. So.
Yeah. It's still out there. It's still, I mean, COVID's still out there. I was just wondering, you know, I wonder how hard it will be for you to market, you know, once, you know, now, you know, this, you know, versus before pandemic and after pandemic, how hard is it going to be to get sponsors, you know, now, because everybody's, you know, economically wise, we're sort of like in a really, you know, we're really in a bad rut. And to me, it's like, you know, trying to go out there and get sponsors for an event, that's going to take some skills.
You think I don't think that's going to change. I think it's actually better than it was back in March, you know, last year in 2020. I think it's actually once 2021 hit, I think sponsorships and advertising actually went kind of better. They became better for events, no matter if they were online or live, or no matter if it's a TV show or whatever the case may be. It actually, people sort of went back, you know, they got, you know, started working again, and things picked up. So like, I feel like it's only going to get better from here when it comes to sponsorship and advertising for festivals and events and music concerts and theater. I think we're going on the right track, and so I'm an optimistic, and I try to stay optimistic and positive, and I'm sort of rooting that it is going to keep on getting better. And I've actually seen it get better because I did a couple events in 2021 where I tripled how much I made in 2020 on just the same event online.
Wow. So, I mean, is that, I don't want to get too involved in that, but I mean, do organizers and marketers, how do you usually get compensated? Are you on salary? I'm not talking about you and I'm not talking about you in Pacific. I'm talking in general, people in your position. Do you guys get paid via, a salary, or do you get paid percentage of the crowd of the gate?
I think everybody's different. Some people are on commission, some people are on salary.
Right. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. What 3 film festivals would you like to work on? I mean, the most. I mean, what were 3? Obviously, Sundance, but what are 3 more other ones that you would love to either attend as a guest or work as a professional on?
I think Tribeca would be fun. I actually was able to be involved with an event for Moving Pictures magazine at Tribeca back in 2006. Or was it 2006 or 2007? We had a magazine event that I was involved with at Tribeca. But I think Tribeca would be fun to work on. I think the Hamptons Film Festival would be pretty cool. I'm actually in talks with a film festival in Santa Fe, New Mexico right now. I got to see if that will move forward. And, again, I like I'm working in Detroit. And like I told you, in Rosefield, is that it?
Rosefield.
Rosefield, yeah. So I'm working on my first film festival in Michigan, and I'm really excited about that for next summer. So I sort of like working on new demographics and new environments.
Okay.
Overall,
I can dig that. I like that too. I think working on something new, something fresh. I don't know why, but I always think that's more fun than working on something more established. I think it's because I think you can leave with a new event, you get to leave your footprint on it. You get to leave your touch on it. Whereas in a show like Sundance or South by Southwest, no one's gonna know. You're there. I mean, it's been there before you got there. It'll be there after you got there, and you really can't make much of an impression. Other than in the immediate sense. But and I think maybe I honestly, I'm going to say this. I know you probably will laugh at it, but you know what? Maybe you got to take a crack at doing one, direct one.
Maybe. I don't know. I know.
Why not? Call the shots. You got the skills.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'll have to think about that.
Hell, I mean, if you did a retro one, Eric, just think about it. If you did a retro film festival, right? You find yourself a damn theater, 400, 500 seater. You rent it out for 3 days. You go ahead and you organize it. You go like, I'm doing a retro film festival. We're gonna do Abbott and Costello, and you raise the money for it, and you get the prints for the studio, and you go ahead and you sell tickets to it. I think you could do it. I mean, listening to you tell me how you work today, I'm totally confident. If I sit there and say, Eric, I want you to direct a festival for me. I want you to go ahead and pick out the films that we're going to watch and everything else. I'm confident you can do that.
No, I know I can.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It's just that I got to figure if that's what I want to do. Like, when you asked me before if I would like to produce a movie, if I had the right movie producer partner, I would definitely, if that partner would help me, I think, something I would love to do more. I would definitely like to jump on that route. I don't know. I want to get back to the theater too.
Have you been approached for that yet? Has someone ever come up to you and sit there and ask you to produce their movie, help get their movie produced? Have you been asked
Yes,
for that?
I have.
Yeah.
Like, I 5 to 10 times in the last 3 or 4 years. Yes.
Yeah.
Mostly independent film scripts.
No, not surprised.
They think. I mean, a lot of people think investor. I mean, everybody has different investor, people that and but it's like everybody in this industry, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people, if they know you have great connections, they go after those connections.
Yeah, that happens. You got to protect those. That's always the case. So and so, so and so. A lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's like, I get that aspect too. I just, what, to me that was sort of like a little bit political for me. I can play the game as well as anybody. I just wanted the book. I just wanted to paint. That's that's all.
I agree. I
want. Yeah, I just wanted to paint. I'm not interested in anything else of it. Just give me a stage and a bucket of paint, and let me paint. That's all I wanted.
That's awesome.
All right, folks. We're gonna run out of time here, so I want to open up the room here. I know there's not that many watching us. It's all right. Anybody here wants to ask Eric a question before we let him go? You feel free to do so. Yeah, this is gonna be one of those shows that's gonna pop during a replay. This is a great education. This is very interesting to hear how it works, because I never even thought about asking my friend Pam for the questions like that. I had another guy on, another guy, but my friend Phil came on last week, and he's a organizer too. He does concerts and different cultural events in San Jose, California, and he was telling me how it worked for him. He has to jump through a lot of hoops. Working with the city and different vendors and whatnot. It's a hard task. And marketing, it's not easy.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that might happen. I'm not worried about it. Eric, I just want to say thank you so much for coming onto the show tonight. Thank you for giving us the time of your evening. I enjoyed it very much. I will definitely try to see you in next year in Detroit. We'll stay in touch, obviously, and if you decide to take that leap and grab your own show, your own festival, you let me know, and we'll do what we can to help promote that for you.
Excellent. And then are you going to be editing this, or will this be ready to be screened?
This will be ready to be screened. This is raw. This is raw. This is it. There is no editing. As soon as this show's over with, I will put it up. I will already put the background on it already. I'll tweak that a little bit, and it'll be up and running by tonight.
Oh, great! So I can send it out tomorrow.
Yes, you certainly can.
So no, great, Patrick. It was definitely a pleasure. I hope I helped. And whoever was listening, I hope I gave them some great advice. And I mean, my biggest lesson I've learned overall so far is to, educate and to try to give to the next generation of up and coming filmmakers and performers, no matter if you're a student, a hobbyist, even a professional. And that's like some of the best parts, no matter if it's a film festival, an entertainment conference, whatever the case may be. It's about really giving back.
One quick question. What's your title when you work at these shows? Is it a marketeer?
I either get producer, depending on what event it is, or film marketing. Correct.
No marketing. Okay.
So those are the two.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And for everybody else in the chat, we will be back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock sharp for film director Thomas J. Churchill. He has a new movie coming out. It has come out called The Amityville Moon. He also did The Amityville Harvest, and he'll be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock to talk about his love for horror and all things creature feature, as long as action and adventure. And then on the 14th, we have actress Karen Klisch will be here. That's right. We're going north to Canada. for that interview. That'll be at 2 o'clock Eastern time. Karen has done many projects, including Mutant X, which is one of my very favorite shows of all time. And then on that night, because we're doing this twice, we have veteran character actor Michael Baker will be with us at 8 o'clock. All right, kids, that's it for us. We are out of here. Until the next one, peace. Stay right where you're at, Eric.